Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again here on Radically Conservative. And it's always wonderful to have you here with us as we celebrate faith, family, and freedom. And we have wonderful co-hosts with us. But before we get to that, we're going to jump right into the action. There is so much that we want to speak to you about because so much has happened. And it's a very exciting time right now. I mean, we've got the World Cup going on. We're about to see the 4th of July, 250th anniversary of America, which is one of the most beautiful things I can think of. We're going to have a really exciting and fun time. And I have two co-hosts with me today, Peter and Lisa, and we're going to speak with Lisa first. And we're going to start off talking about something not quite as fun as the 4th of July, not quite as fun as the World Cup. Go America. I want to see Argentina up there too. Germany, not too bad either. That's a good Final Four. But Lisa, I want to take a moment. One of the things that's a little bit of a downer was we just had the primary elections in New York, especially in New York City. We saw that a bit of a rise of socialism. And obviously our illustrious Mayor Mandami is very gleeful at the moment. But how did it make you feel?
It made me feel terrible. I'm an anti-communist and have been since I was 18 years old, and went to the Soviet Union for the summer. It is shameful. It is outrageous and weird and shameful that we've gotten rid of the Black and Hispanic leaders of various congressional districts and replaced them with communists, with literally hardcore leftist Marxists who are obsessed with the Palestine issue and who don't seem to care even remotely about the issues that matter in New York City's lives, New York City residents' lives. So I'm horrified by this, and I hate that New York is is in the forefront of this. Mandami obviously has been in office for a year, almost a year. He's clearly a leader in this movement, but this is a very serious challenge to our sense of who we are as a city.
So let me go to Peter. Peter, we've got the Democratic Socialists of America on the rise. The squad, as they like to call themselves, are growing and getting bigger right in front of our faces, most of it coming from New York State, New York City itself. Obviously, it's disturbed Lisa and many, many Americans, even those who are not conservative or Republican. Many people are concerned about this. Let me ask you, when you're thinking about the DSA, the squad, where is this leaving you?
I'm nauseous. It's disgusting. These are anti-American, anti-New York. They're, Mandami, like his mother said, he's not American. He's not a real New Yorker. And they're pushing their agenda. Unfortunately, everybody he endorsed won the primary. I look at them as one being worse than the next, or worse policies, worse ideas. And they seem to be hyper-focused, besides the communist and the socialist aspect, but they seem to be like very hyper-focused on the whole Middle East, when they're not thinking about running the city, well, at least not in a good way. And as a mayor, he doesn't have any power at the federal or the state level or international. That's, Washington's job. So he should, in my opinion, stay out of all that garbage and, focus on New York, because everything he's for is wrong anyway. And even if you look at what is happening in the city, all the chaos at the Knicks event, you're seeing the Palestine flag. To me, it's troubling, and when there's violence and when there's death and destruction, that flag appears, and these are all people who support that. So to me, I'm troubled, and I think that they're pushing violence, as we see every day in New York. Unfortunately, people are, not acting correctly.
I just want to say, I was watching TV this afternoon to find out what people were saying about this, and every Democratic strategist that they had on Fox News kind of was apologetic and talked about how the real Democratic Party isn't like this. This is not democratic politics. This is DSA. This is the Democratic Socialist party, and they should not be taking over the Democrat Party. So I think even mainstream Democrats are very disturbed.
Well, they should be, because the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, aren't Democrats. If you ask them directly, they'll tell you they're either Working Families Party, or they'll tell you honestly that they're a progressive, they're a socialist, they're not a Democrat, but they're in the Democratic Party because they can't win on their own. They can't get the money that the Democratic Party can raise. So that's why they are part of that. And the Democrats brought them in initially because they needed something to get young voters in, to integrate college students who have been indoctrinated and bring them into the Democratic wing and keep their strength together. And this is the result of that. But I do find something interesting, Peter, you mentioned, we keep seeing that Mayor Mondami, when he was on that campaign trail, he told us, I'm not going to go overseas, I'm not going to visit Israel, I don't care about international politics, I'm not going to talk about that, I want to be the mayor of New York City. But he hasn't done that, has he?
He's done the exact opposite. And as we were talking about a little bit off camera, he was even trying to meet the failed, soon term limited Petro out of Colombia. And the White House and the federal government had to put a kibosh on that because, what's the point? Why is he meeting with a president from a failed third world narco state if he's the mayor of New York? So he likes the spotlight. He seems to have a script that he doesn't write. And when he talks, it's a lot of talking, but he doesn't answer questions. He doesn't really say anything. It's a lot of propaganda, almost like watching a KGB wordsmith spin their words.
That's true. I find it interesting, but he is, maybe am I wrong? He's got a magnetism to him, and he is definitely someone who is motivating voters. I think he's motivating Republican voters and conservative voters as much as what we're seeing with Democrats, because looking at last night and the results were coming out, we did see some large numbers for some of the Republicans and conservatives running. They had some big races.
I guess. I think that the way he motivates Republicans is he creates disgust and, and a certain amount of genuine fear about what could happen to a city we live in. He has clearly failed at his domestic policies. He has given them up, it appears. And I think that's partly because the reality of the budget just makes it so that you can't have free buses or give everybody free daycare. So he's a little bit limited, by reality. So it's much easier to go forward with his obsessive interest in Palestine. He's clearly a radical anti-Semite, and he does not have any trepidations about making that clear to everybody who watches him. I think he's kind of playing at this in a way, but he's clearly a dyed-in-the-wool ideologue. He has nothing but ideology behind him.
Well, he's absolutely an ideologue, but it's more than just anti-Semitism, which I think is apparent at this point for everyone. But remember, he also didn't show up to the Puerto Rican Day Parade. He blew them off as well. So there seems to be quite a few people that are not on Mondami's list of importance, even though they're key cultures here in New York City and in New York State. I think it's going to be very interesting. I know we're going to be going to the break very quickly, so I'm going to just ask a real quick question. Mayor Mondami has said that for the 4th of July, American citizens cannot gather, but there is going to be a ball drop, there is going to be confetti, same place, same everything as New Year's Eve over in Times Square. Ball will drop, there will be confetti, but he said he's not going to have police there, he's not going to allow the public there. I'm going anyway. Let me ask each of you before we go to the break, and I'll start with you first, Peter. Are you going to go?
I'm more than likely going to go. Speaking about this with my wife the other day and some neighbors and some family. And how are you going to say in New York on the 250th anniversary of our nation, you can't go to Times Square? But he's allowed all types of other groups and activities. And, we can look it up and see for your own eyes what's happening in Times Square. But for America's birthday, no, that's a big taboo. I think he's doing it on purpose. He's obviously not an American. His mother said he's not an American. We know he doesn't support capitalism, democracy. He's against our republic. He's against our way of life. And if we watch those old videos, I love the one where he has that red bandana over his face with the fake accent. There's a couple of them out there. He's a fraud. That smirk is, I mean, it's almost like a Saddam Hussein smirk or some nut job, world leader that kills people. I think he's going to kill people here by his policies, but I think it's disgusting and it's anti-American. We should all come out and give him the middle finger and say, well, the cops aren't here, we're here, and we're going to peacefully celebrate our birthday for America.
Keyword peaceful. Lisa, what do you think?
I'm not going because I don't like crowds. But I am disgusted that that Mondami is forbidding this. Is taking it. He is very much a third world Ugandan expat who we foolishly elected to run our city, and he is clearly not behaving like an American. An American would create a celebration.
Of some degree, I can't imagine any American going, oh, well, it's the 250th birthday.
Stay home and do nothing.
Yeah, stay home, just ignore it. It's not a big deal. By the way, did you go to the local mosque? And I'm not mad at any Muslim, any Americans who are Muslim or whatever faith you may have. I don't care where you came from. You came to America to be an American. That means when we have the 4th of July.
I don't know how true that is. I think a lot of people came to America because they thought there would be some opportunities for them to make money, and they don't want to be Americans.
Well, I know that's true for the illegal aliens.
Sure.
I know that's
but
true.
We're also seeing it with the Muslims. We're seeing a lot of not wanting to be an American.
Well, there are a lot of Muslims that are wanting to be Americans. Well, I'm speaking specifically to those American citizens, natural born, those who came to America to become American, to assimilate into our system. We all should celebrate the 250th birthday of the greatest nation in the world. And we'll talk more about this right after the break. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being back here with us at Radically Conservative, where we are focused on faith, family, and freedom in every aspect of our lives. I'm glad that you're still here with us because this show is going to continue. You can see already, we are lively and passionate because it's about America. It's about you and us. Let me start off by introducing my co-hosts that you've just been listening to. I'm sure you're very interested to know a little bit more about them. Once again, I'm going to go ladies first. Lisa, please introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Lisa Schiffren. I used to be a Republican speechwriter. Now I write for Newsmax magazine. I'm a native New Yorker, and I live in Riverdale.
Fantastic. And I love your experience. I love what you're adding, the passion that you're adding into our panel today, because it's always nice to hear a woman's voice and a woman's point of view on all of these things, especially when you have so much experience. That's just the best part of it. But let me not leave out my other co-host, Peter, and introduce yourself.
My name's Peter Kefalas. I'm a lifelong resident of Queens, born and raised, still there. Lifelong Republican. I was the 2025 Conservative and Republican candidate for New York City Comptroller, and I'm one of the founding members of a media company called Queen's Voice.
And for everyone, which is, again, an impressive experience. I love it. I have co-hosts that have such great experience, it makes me jealous. But to let you know, folks, Michael Vasquez, and yes, I'm here, 20 years, political commentary, been in the Marines, can speak some Russian. There's a whole lot of stories about that. But what we're focused on today is to talk about what's happening here in America. Let me address something else. And I know when everyone gets to see this, they're still going to be talking about it. It's the Iran deal with the United States and Iran. We're entering into a memorandum of understanding, a 14-point deal. A lot of people have questions about this. Not everyone understands exactly what's in it or how it will affect us in the future. I'm not a big fan of the 14-point deal, but let me ask my co-host first. Before I say anything, let me hear. Am I right or wrong? Is this a good deal, Peter?
All right, so far, I haven't been a big fan of what's been happening. I rarely break with what the president's doing, but I think we should have bombed them into the Stone Age, and I'm going to tell you why. They have a history for 47 years of murder and mayhem and sponsoring proxies and killing Americans and Israelis and all kinds of other people throughout the world. We know they want to bomb. We know they want to wipe us off the map in other countries. They've said it. Can we trust a terrorist? Should we be negotiating with terrorists? Probably not. But the one solace aspect of this negotiation, I don't think that President Trump's going to necessarily accept a bad deal. So let's see what happens. I think if they play around too much, the bombs go back and maybe we do some regime change, which is what I was kind of hoping for, or some kind of revolt. But as I spoke to Lisa on her show not too long ago, we don't have an armed uprising there. So yes, the people are coming out, the women are taking off their hijabis and they're being brave, but they don't have guns. So it's very tough to fight against, a regime that has a lot of tanks and guns, and they're killing their people who are unarmed. So that's a problem.
Well, there's a few problems there, and we do know that since the start of the current ceasefire agreement, which will last for 60 days, Iran has gone back into its populace, and they have begun to hang many of the people who were protesting, very much like what we saw in January of this year, 2026, which is part of why we entered into this situation. A small part, but a part of this is to save those people. Lisa, let me ask you, you've been around long enough to see some various presidents have different deals in various difficult situations. Do you think this deal was good enough that we should take it now, or would you have hoped for something else?
I would very clearly have hoped for something better. I was a big fan of the president starting this war. I think it was the right thing to do. 47 years. The fact that the Iranian regime was so close to having nuclear weapons should scare everybody to their marrow. Mm-hmm. But we knew that President Trump was limited by two things. The first was that there was not so much popular support for the war, so that you couldn't put boots on the ground. And it is understood universally that it's very hard to change a regime without actually having boots on the ground, without having soldiers in the street, without arming the population. We were not in a position to do that. And you read that we tried to arm the Kurds and it somehow backfired. And Turkey asked us not to arm the Kurds because Turkey has a long-term commitment to, they like to oppress the Kurds. So there are some questions about whether we did what we should have done or not. Having said that, I don't think we should have bombed them back to the Stone Age, because I think that would have hurt the population more than the regime itself. On the other hand, I think we should have continued the bombing until we got a total surrender. We don't have a total surrender. We have them negotiating, and they've clearly got the power to say no, which they are exercising at length. They daily they contradict what President Trump says about whether or not the IAEA can go in to examine their nuclear facilities. I don't know. I am very worried that we're going to accept a deal that falls short.
There's a couple of things in this story that are very important to keep in mind, and I don't think most people know. When you're listening to, we've seen a pattern that President Donald Trump will come up and he'll mention something about what's been happening for the last 4 months. Then you'll hear from a state agency, a state news agency, is what you'll hear very often quoted by like CNN or MS Now. And then within about 24 hours of that, you'll hear from the Iranian government that will agree with Donald Trump. The reason is, the confusion on that is that the IRGC, which is the wing that trains terrorism around the world, they control several news organizations. They're basically a split within the Iranian government, we've seen. And what we see there is that they're putting out propaganda to make Donald Trump and the Iranian leadership, the Ayatollah and mullahs, to look bad, to keep having more fighting because they are terrorists. They believe in the fight to the end. And that's why it's very confusing sometimes to know, did we get the right answer or did we get the wrong answer from there? But I agree with my co-host, this is not the deal that we wanted for America. This isn't the deal that's going to make us safe for the next 30, 50 years. We need to work on this. We've got 55 more days. We'll see what J.D. Vance can do, and then we'll go forward from there. But let me move forward to the next issue. I know that one's a little shorter, but we do have one other thing I want to talk about today I think is also going to have a big impact going forward. And that is yesterday, on the 16th of June, 15 individuals were arrested by the DOJ, the Trump administration, because they were suspected domestic terrorists. This was in Michigan. Yesterday, we had results of a trial. 8 individuals aligned with ANTIFA, a terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization, left-leaning. They were all convicted, and they received convictions ranging from 30 years to 100 years for one individual, most of them getting either 50 or 70 years. In total, all 8 people received a sentence of 450 years. This is huge. We've never seen domestic terrorism and the impact of the government going after them and seriously putting them in jail. Lisa, do you think that the term, the jail time, is appropriate? Do you think this is something we want to see repeated?
I am very much in favor of serious sentences for serious crimes because you want to defer other people's enthusiasm for committing the same crimes. Antifa is a national organization. We don't know exactly how many people are in it, but they've been setting up riots and kind of outbursts certainly for the last 5 years, since COVID,
Well, even before then.
Even before that. They're very dangerous, and I think when you've got the information where you can actually pin this on them and you can sentence them, I think these sentences are great.
I agree. I love the sentences. And for those who are unfamiliar, Jerry Nadler would love you to think, and many Democrats would like you to think, that Antifa doesn't exist. And yet, when you talk about almost every single autonomous zone that has existed in America, which is completely illegal, they are run by Antifa, and they have killed many Americans, a couple dozen since 2020. So, Peter, knowing that, and by the way, the reason why they got 450 years is there was the Prairie Land ICE detention center. They went there with bombs, explosives, and a sniper rifle. They shot police officers. They shot an officer in the neck. They were trying to kill people. That's why they got such a big sentence. So tell me, what are your thoughts about that, Peter?
I'd like to put them away for life. I'd like to send them to a lovely place in El Salvador called CICAT and put them in a terrorist detention center forever there because, like we've said, they've killed plenty of people. Every no man's land autonomous zone in this country is run by them. You could see Oregon, Washington, California, New York. They're a domestic terrorist group. They're well-funded. They're supplied with baseball bats, brass knuckles, pipe. I mean, what don't they have? So we know they're being funded by some nefarious rich folks. And rightfully so. It'll set, hopefully, the tone and set the example. And I think they're cowards because if you watch what they do, they love to hide their faces and they like to be tough when there's 30, 40 of them on one or two people. But when they're outnumbered, they run away. They run behind the police. They scream at the police, shoot them with pepper balls. But they throw Molotov cocktails. They shoot at everybody, including law enforcement, and they go after federal buildings. So I think now we're in the find out part. They effed around. They found out. And they're going to go to, Leavenworth or somewhere harsh. I'd like to send them a CICAT with, Bukele in El Salvador. My opinion, it'd be cheaper to house them there. But let it set the tone that if you do stupid stuff like that, if you're vicious, violent killers, and you're a domestic terrorist, cowardly, lock them up. I don't feel any pity for them.
Well, I don't feel pity for them either. And I think America has been looking forward to the opportunity to seriously lock down and to punish this kind of criminal action where we have these radicals that are endangering lives and disrupting our entire nation. I think it's a great thing. I look forward to seeing this trend. Really quick question. We got a minute left, so about 30 seconds to you each. Who do you think wins the World Cup?
I don't know. I'm not really a soccer fan. I think America has won because all these European tourists are having such a great time here.
That is a good point. That is a win. Who do you think, Peter?
I'm going to always go with the U.S. team, but my second team is always going to be Brazil, which looked good. So I'm always hoping for a U.S. If not, I go with my second team, Brazil.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for Germany, maybe England. It would be a wonderful miracle moment for America to win the World Cup. We have won once in the history of the World Cup. It would be nice to see it happen again. My God, it would be like hitting the lottery. You'd be amazed how much money. But that is all we have for today. Folks, I hope you've been enjoying joining us in this episode of Radically Conservative. We will be back again very soon. My co-hosts will be back. And we are going to be looking forward to speaking with you because it's always about faith, family, and freedom. That is America. Have a great 4th of July. Enjoy America. And Mr. Mondami, you don't have to show up, but every American will.